And let's go to the phone lines and welcome in Matt. And Matt, when I read your story, not only the one that you wrote, but then also the excerpt in the Washington Post, I was immediately greeted with joy that I haven't felt in quite some time, that NCAA football is officially coming back in the summer of 2023. Thanks to your hard work and tenacity, talking with different schools and FIOA and getting some information out. What's your excitement level? What have you gathered from this announcement that you kind of made that NCAA football is coming back?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled too, right? In addition to being a reporter and somebody that writes a lot about business and licensing and labor and all these other kind of issues within college sports, you know, I played this game just like everybody else did, right? Like this is the reason my GPA at Ohio State was not terribly strong. I spent a lot of time in dorms and in apartments and in buddies' houses, you know, playing dynasty mode and getting really into this game. So as a consumer, I'm thrilled to have it back. One of the other things that I am personally excited about, and I know that a lot of my readers and people I talk to are very excited about, is the level that EA and the member institutions here are working to make this the most realistic depiction of college football ever. What you can do is you have a little bit more doodads to play with on a PlayStation 5 than you did on a PS2 on a PS3. One of those levels here that we're seeing is that EA has asked all of the schools to say, listen, we want you to not just take like 1,500 photographs of your stadium so we can render it in 3D in a way that we haven't done before. And I've talked to folks who have explained how they've done those photographs. They've also said, we want you to send us all of the audio assets that you have during a football game. So I'm not just talking about your fight song. I want to know when your students are chanting. I want to know like the text and the cadence of those chants. I want to know what sound effect you play on third down. I want to know what song you're playing in the third quarter or in pregame, so we can depict the stadium experience exactly how it happens for your game. And I'm going to actually have an update in a couple of days here because I've gotten back from a couple of schools who have now sent me exactly what they're submitting. You know, like you go watch a Kentucky football game, they're going to play the Law and Order sound every time another team gets a penalty called on them. You're going to hear that in the game. You're going to hear some of these student chants. I think that's pretty exciting because part of what makes college football unique from professional football is that every stadium experience is a little bit different, and we have proof now that everybody's doing their best to make sure it's as accurate and realistic as possible.
And I can hear the excitement of your voice. This is not something that you're just reporting, as you just said. This is something you're genuinely excited about. Have you got a chance? Has anyone with Arkansas gotten back to you on what they're doing or potentially what Razorback stuff will be in the new game?
No, unfortunately not. And one of the other frustrating things about Arkansas, of course, is that I can't file open records requests there because Arkansas is one of the handful of states that has a residency requirement. And so since I unfortunately do not live in Arkansas, okay. I can't file these things. However, I am going to call them up on the phone later today. I've done this with just about every school in the SEC here so far. A lot of these places have said, I'm happy to talk to you, but let me give me a minute to go try to find that data. The first call, of course, I made was to LSU to say, like, are you going to put neck in the game? Are you going to have drunk people demanding to play neck if you don't have neck in the game? Like, how realistic of the LSU experience are we going to get? Arkansas is a fun example here, though, because I also don't know if they're going to put War Memorial in there or if they render both stadiums or anything. I'm still trying to figure that out because this is kind of a unique case.
That's awesome, man. We're talking with Matt Brown. He's the publisher of Extra Points. He's the one that broke the story about NCAA football coming back next summer. Now, Matt, you mentioned you're not in Arkansas. You're in Chicago. And I wonder your bird's eye view of Arkansas football right now. And I know you're more of a Big Ten guy going to Ohio State, but you talk football and you watch football for a living. What is your perspective, Matt, on where Arkansas football is right now with Sam Pittman in the current SEC?
I mean, for one, I think now is just an amazing time to be an Arkansas fan. And I am in the Midwest, but I am a college sports industry person. I talk to athletic directors, I talk to vendors and consultants all the time, and I hear a lot of praise about how Arkansas is run as a department, about several coaching hires that they've made, about the culture of that athletic department, and some of the stuff that they're doing financially. Because it's like, hey, listen, not only did you guys find a great coach in Sam Pittman, and one of the things that I think was noticed a lot within the college sports industry was, and this isn't an insult, you guys didn't hire the sexiest guy out there. It wasn't the flashiest hire. It wasn't the conventional big name offensive coordinator or G5 head coach. And I think that demonstrated that culture matters. That grabbing somebody who really wants to be there and is going to articulate his vision of a program, and that you maybe the net of the kind of people that could be a successful SEC head coach is larger than maybe you think. And you look at what Arkansas is doing right now with basketball. You look at what they've done with baseball. You look at what they've done with track and the resources that they have and who they're competing against. I think you should, a Razorback fan should feel proud of all of those things here. Now, I mean, you're going to have a difficult division, and I'm not sure exactly what's going to, some of the questions that have to be answered with this offense, but all you can really hope for is we know exactly what kind of football we want to play. We know exactly what kind of athlete we want to get, and we know exactly what we're going to be seeing and what we're going to be rooting for. I mean, I'd rather have that than anything that's happening at Auburn, even if they got a couple more stars on their roster, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of Arkansas fans are much, and feel much better about their football program and really their overall athletics department over Auburn. And you kind of mentioned doing it in Arkansas way, the contract that Sam Pittman just signed, where there's a lot of winning incentives. I think Razorback fans really appreciated that. Now there's still some tough games ahead, as there always is in the SEC West, and one of those being Alabama, which Bryce Young and company comes to town. Bryce Young ripped Arkansas up, as he did many teams this past year. Yeah. To me, Matt, and I know we have a lot of times kids come out of the woodwork when it comes to the Heisman Trophy, but I feel like it's a two-man race between him and C.J. Stroud this year. We haven't seen anyone repeat since a former Buckeye, Archie Griffin, did. But when you look at the Heisman Trophy race, is it between Stroud and Young, or is there someone else that you think that can sneak into that mix this upcoming year?
Honestly, I think it would be difficult for either of them. And here's one of the things that I think kind of stinks about the Heisman Trophy, given that the way that the voting is spread out geographically and the kind of people that have votes. One, you need to be like the best offensive player on a truly elite football team, or have just stupid video game numbers if you want to be here in competition. So if you're betting on somebody that's not playing for Alabama or Ohio State, I think what you're really saying is, I think this team will compete for a college football playoff spot, or that this person is going to, be Lamar Jackson or RG3 and put up historic level production to vault themselves in that conversation. And there's, you look at the other, maybe 7 programs that we think could be in college football playoff contention, and I think it's hard to make a preseason case right now that any of them will be as offensively prolific as Stroud or Bryce Young. The only thing I can think of where maybe you make a case for somebody, and I don't know, at USC or at Oklahoma or Clemson or something, would be the idea that Ohio State and Alabama's offense will be balanced enough this year that no single person is going to put up stupid statistics. But even then, that feels unlikely to me. I feel like this is probably going to be a more chalk-heavy run, not just on the Heisman Trophy race, but honestly, I think even in the football season itself. Because as frustrating as this might be to hear, I think Alabama was a little bit of a down season last year, and they still made the championship game. Like, they should be loaded to bear, I think, this coming season.
Yeah, I am curious who Bryce Young throws the ball to after losing Slade Bolden, Jameson Williams, and John Mechie, but we know Alabama reloads every single year. Matt Brown with us, publisher of Extra Points here on The Morning Rush. Matt, last question from me. I got a chance to experience my first Big Ten game this past year. Wisconsin, Iowa, in Camp Randall. Incredible. Never been to a Big Ten game before that. It was awesome. Born in SEC country, raised in SEC country, been to a couple venues down here. But as a Big Ten guy, have you got a chance to see an SEC football game in person, or is that still on the bucket list for you?
I have. It's funny. So, I was born in Ohio, and I live in Chicago now. But my first job out of college was in New Orleans. So I lived in Louisiana for a little bit, and I've been to a couple of these events. And I tell everybody who will listen, even though there are some intimidating stadium environments in the Big Ten, and there's some fun environments, the best game in terms of just atmosphere that I ever went to was like a garbage, like I think LSU was playing like Monroe or something. Like it was one of those early season games where you can actually get a ticket for $25, but it was a delight. And I just walked through those tailgates, and I told people I was an idiot Yankee, and people were just giving me, pots of stuff I'd never seen before, and it was delicious. And you're offering me clear alcohol out of jars. And I joke about this here as a reporter. Like the metric that I used to figure out, like, how good of a stadium environment is this going to be? How intimidating a tailgate? How unique is this going to be? It's if when I put on my sports writer jacket, I got one of those like little corduroy jackets with the elbow pads, so I look like Ted Mosby and I just scream like giant dork. So everyone knows I'm a reporter. So I walk through that tailgate and people are offering me jars of alcohol that smells like it's for automotive use only. That's going to be a great game. LSU is like that. West Virginia is like that. ECU is like that. I'm sure there's plenty other places in SEC country that are like that too that I haven't had the opportunity to spend some time in, but I hope to change that this year.
Well, Matt, I'll help you out with that. If at any point you want to come to a Razorback football game this year, I have season tickets, and you're more than welcome to be with the Hog fan base. I'm sure they'll treat you just as well as you got treated in Baton Rouge, my man.
Well, it would be wonderful. I'd love to go. I'm sitting here trying to figure out what I want to do for my travel schedule this year. I'm going to try to maybe go out to Montana or some of these Big Sky FCS games that I haven't had a chance to do before. But there's a lot of SEC country that I haven't hit, and if the schedule works out, Arkansas will be great.
Well, Matt, you're more than welcome in Fayetteville, and we really appreciate you making some time for us here on a Tuesday morning, man.
Hey, listen, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, great stuff from Matt Brown, again, the publisher of Extra Points. Broke the story, NCAA football coming back the summer of 2023. Can't wait.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's Wimbledon Finals, Major League Baseball, the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV. That's BLEAV to get the bonus and get into the action. Bet online, where the game starts.